Now there's quite a bit more that you can do with HQL. We've covered all the basics, but you can do things that you can do in SQL like subselects and group bys and halvings. Pretty much all of the functionality of SQL you can find in HQL. But like I said, we've covered all of the basics except for one thing that I want to show you now that's a unique feature of HQL that I find really useful and not too many people know about. But if you do know about this, this can save you a lot of time of having to cast objects and pull data out and extract them when you can have that being done for you directly in the query. So I've set up a scenario here. What I've done is I've created this class called userTotal. And this class basically just has a name and a total. And in the constructor, we can take in a name and a total. And it's just a way to get just the user's name and the total and not have anything else. You could think of this as something that you might bind to a user interface element. Perhaps if you're using something like MVVM or MVC and you wanted to use some kind of object that you're going to bind to your user interface, you might create something like this where you just need the names and the totals. In that case, what you would normally have to do is in your code, you'd have to create a query that gets the user and then takes out the name and then takes out the total and then loops through all of that data and constructs a series of these user total objects. But what I've done here is I've set this up so that we can do a dynamic instantiation of this class. So you'll notice in my create query, I have a select, and then I'm using this new keyword, just like we would do a new in Java, and I'm specifying the full name of this class. So I'm doing new user total. It's com.simpleprogrammer.user total. And then I'm calling the constructor, just like you'd call a constructor of a class, except I'm using the path to the data that I want. So for example, I'm getting user.name and I'm getting user.protein data.total. And then you can see I'm just doing this from user and I've aliased this to user. Now you have to get this exactly right. You're not going to get autocomplete on this, so it can make it a little bit difficult. But if you do this, what will happen is this query will actually instantiate user total, and instead of returning us back users like it was before, or alerts when we had it set up for alerts, it's going to actually return us back a list of these user total objects, or a collection of these user total objects. And you can see here that I've set this up to receive back this list of user total. And we're going to go ahead and loop through all of the user totals, and we're going to go ahead and print out the name followed by a colon and then the total. So let's go ahead and run this code. And you can see from our console output that we get Joe 50, Bob 20, Amy 200. So I thought that's a pretty neat feature that everyone should know about, because I've written a lot of code here where if I were just getting the user, I'd have to loop through all the users and then create new user total for every single user in that loop. And that's just a lot of wasted code when you can have Hibernate do that for you automatically directly in your query.